in, so but it was a lot of fun. Here you can see the flowers going around. This is Dawa Sherpa. The Sherpa, they all use Sherpa as their last name, so his name is Dawa Sherpa. And their first name comes from the day of the week on which they were born. So you hear a lot of Sherpa have the same name, and they'll add little nicknames and things to keep them apart. But it might be Dawa or Pasang. The most famous name is Tenzing. You've probably heard that from Tenzing Sherpa, the first man to climb Mount Everest along with Skirting Hillary. So we really enjoyed our Sherpas. They helped us so much. We would have never climbed Mount Everest without the help of Sherpas. So you're down in base camp, and avalanches are coming down. This whole moraine, rocky moraine, changing, moving around, and you're thinking, okay, we haven't even started climbing yet. And this is a pretty interesting place. So I'm going to take you up now through the camp, and this is called the Khumbu Ice Fall. It's one of the most dangerous places on Mount Everest, and it's actually at the very bottom of the mountain. You kind of saw in some of those early pictures, it just looks like a big jumbled road, and it's a glacier that's coming down the mountain, basically a flowing river of gigantic ice blocks. And this thing moves and cracks and pops and hisses, and you just hope that you're kind of not at the wrong place at the wrong time when an ice chunk the size of an apartment building moves. And so threading up there, you've got to be really careful. And it's exhausting because you come to something like this, maybe a 20-foot vertical little ice feature, you clip into the rope, you get yourself up to the top of that, and then there's another one, or you've got to walk around. And the route is constantly changing as these blocks of ice come down. We would go up to Camp 2 or Camp 3, and a few days later come back down through the ice fall, and we'd have to go a completely different direction because things would have fallen and moved around. So here you can see some climbers kind of going through the middle of this. There are nicknames for a lot of things on Everest. This we call the popcorn section, just sort of look like popcorn as you climb up through. But really difficult climb. And then you get to an edge of what's called a crevasse. And raise your hand if you know what a crevasse is. Okay, so you guys have heard this terminology. The ice moves down, it sort of cracks, and you get this big, gaping hole in the ice. Standing on the edge of it, thinks, well, how am I going to get across to the other side? Well, the Sherpas are very ingenious. They brought these cheap, just hardware store aluminum ladders, and they would put it across, and you walk across the ladder. So if you remember the training, that's why we were walking across ladders up in the mountain. And I can tell you, yeah, someone just said sketchy. Exactly right, sketchy. With crampons on, you actually step between the rungs. So you step in the spaces of the ladder and you let your crampon tines catch on the rungs. So you get a sense of what that looks like. So, I've got a little video here. You can see what this looks like.
Yeah, hold it tight, thanks. Just gonna record over a short one here. A little idea of what it's like going across the ladder. Thank you, Dawa.
Dawa was laughing at me because you saw me gingerly going across. He was just running across. He waited for me, so he was cracking me up. But very friendly climbing partner. So raise your hand if you think you'd walk across the ladder. Raise your hand if you say, no way am I walking across that So just as you get across one ladder, you look ahead and say, oh, I gotta go up that ladder. And I'm gonna have to go up that one, and over there, and they just kept going. Here's another one. And the whole time below you are just these gaping crevasses. If you look down and it's black and you can't see the bottom, you know that's a deep end. You're gonna fall now. So this was fun. Here's kind of some ladders strung together. So this is threading up through the Khumbu Ice Fall just to get to Camp 1. So So just even starting on this climb stuff. This is Camp 1, about 19,000 feet. We get to the tents and just be exhausted from going through the ice fall. The first time we did it, we just laid down. We were so tired, we just went back down. The second time, well, we felt a little bit better. We would time ourselves. Hey, that took me an hour less to get up to this time. Third time, wow, an hour less than that. As our bodies became acclimatized. So Camp 1, you still have, Camp 1's at 19,000 feet. This is still 10,000 feet higher at the summit. We figured, hey, we got started. So this is Dawa Sherpa, Danuru Sherpa, who climbed with my dad. He's now climbed Mount Everest 14 times? Yeah. So every year he goes, this is his job. He's an amazingly strong climber. So they help guide us and climb with us along the way. So you get through, you get up to Camp 2, that's not too bad. And now we're going to start up what's called the Lhotse phase. And the Lhotse is that mountain next to Mount Everest that we're going to climb. And this is a very steep sheet of ice. You can see these little ants here. Those are climbers threading their way up to Camp 3, which is about right there. So you get onto the bottom, you can see we're kicking our front points in, so when you look at the crampons, they have tines that come straight out. So you can see the bottom of my feet here, I'm kicking straight in to hold myself onto the ice. You get a sense of how steep that is. So here's a little video of climbing up the Lhotse face.
We're still pounding up the Lhotse face, been going at it for a few hours. You can get a sense of what this is like. Pounding up the steps. Pretty good steps kicked in. Look back down. This isn't a place that you want to fall. These guys behind me are catching on me, but they're wearing oxygen. We're getting close to 24,000 feet. Camp 3. This is hard.
This is hard, right? That Lhotse face that's tough. That's tough. I don't know if you heard my voice. Really straining. I just couldn't get enough oxygen to try to say anything. It took so much energy, get the video camera out. So the whole thing was just exhausting. We go up to 24,000 feet, still with that oxygen. There's another shot looking down. Okay, so finally we make it to what's called Camp 3. The first time we went to Camp 3, we spent the night there, no oxygen. It was a brutal night. Couldn't really sleep, stomach didn't feel well, but it was great acclimatization. Then we moved back down to Camp 2, Camp 1, down to base camp. And then our final summit push, Camp 1 spent the night, Camp 2 spent the night. Now we're at Camp 3. And we started using supplemental oxygen. We hear a lot about this with Everest climbs. And it helps you feel that you're about 2,000 feet lower than you are. So it's not a scuba tank, you're not just breathing pure oxygen. It adds oxygen to the ambient air that you're inhaling. And you would maybe sleep on about a flow rate of about 1 liter a minute, and if you were climbing hard, you'd climb on about 3 liters per minute. Of course, you were limited to what you had on your back in the tank. It was pretty nice to get to Camp 3 for the second time. We plugged into that oxygen, and that felt pretty good when we went to sleep. Here are our tents, just perched on that face, that ice face that I pointed out. The Sherpas helped carve out platforms. That was huge. Up the tent.
Oh.
That's looking out the tent vestibule at about 24,000 feet. Some people say, you know we're in your airplane flying somewhere and you sit next to the window and you kind of look out? That's sort of what this was like. Just sort of looking out there, 24,000 feet. Here's a little video.
We're in the tent here at Camp 3. See, Dad's got the gas on. I'm just about to get it on. It's nice. Unbelievable. We have the sun shining in. This is probably one of the most amazing views out the tent vestibule that we've had. You can see, you look right out here, pretty much perched on the edge. It just kind of ends right there. The sun is shining in. We got great clouds.
I don't know.
When it breaks, you can see Choi you
I don't want to slip today.
So I'm loving the view out here. Just had dinner, and went to bed early. This is the kind of weather we've been waiting for. This is 24,000 feet looking out. 10. It just doesn't get any better than this.
The question we often get is, how did you go to the bathroom? Carefully. You had to be roped. Just to get outside.
Yeah, when you walked outside, you roped up and took a quick left turn around the corner. You didn't want to just walk straight out. Yeah. No sleepwalking. So we left Camp 3. You know, how did that weather look outside the tent?
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah, we thought this is it. This is our summit window. And you hope for this little window of good weather. Someone was asking me earlier, when do you climb? In May, the jet stream sort of moves off the summit of Everest, and you've got just this little window to try to get up there and get back down before the monsoon comes in during the summer season. So you try to time it. We were getting satellite weather forecasts from Seattle and thought, okay, it looks good. So we headed up. Everything looked great at Camp 3. This next day, we're going up to Camp 4. The weather's still beautiful, looking good. You see my dad traversing here. Here's another little shot of it. Now that summit pyramid's really coming into focus. There's our goal. We're feeling great. And look at that weather, just beautiful. So we're thinking tomorrow for our summit day, we're in great shape. Here's a little video of looking up at that summit pyramid. I want you to pay attention when the camera zooms in. Okay, pay attention and see if you can tell me what you see.
We're still ascending up toward Camp 4. We're traversing above the yellow band now. The yellow band's a little harder than it looked at the beginning. You can really see the first pitch. So we're traversing, this is the base of the Geneva Spur. That's what we'll be climbing next. The route looks pretty direct. Just kind of a trail that goes up diagonally. But Ballast Place still more than 2 hours up that camp, so it's going to take us a while. We're north of 25,000 feet now. You can see up toward the summit pyramid, they're starting to get a little wind.